Hello, I'm Scott Soshnick.
And I'm Eben Novi-Williams, and this is the Tryptophan Hangover Sports Business Podcast, the Sporticast.
Well, that implies tired and sleepy, and
Yes,
is that how you feel? Is that how you feel?
Yes,
it is. You're not invigorated and ready to roll on a Monday?
Yeah, this is always a tough Monday, obviously. Take a couple days off, eat a lot of great food, but a lot of it, I feel a little hungover today from food-wise, for sure. How about you? How was your holiday?
It was fine. Just out to the sister's house, everybody there, a little. But I'll tell you the world we live in, though. My sister brings an iced tea. We like sweet tea, whatever. So she brings this stuff down, the green tea, and I forgot what the brand is. But I have given it up recently because there's too much sugar. As you know, I have not had a soda in like 6 months, which is tough for me. You know, I love my Diet Dr. Pepper and all that, but I haven't because what has gotten me through this is the liquid death. I love the iced tea. I love the Rest in Peach. By the way, there was a trademark thing. The Arnold Palmer was one of the ones, like the brand, and they got a C and D, so they can't use it. And I think they made it like Dead Billionaire is now the brand name instead of, which I think is very funny. Always comes back to sports business somehow. Yeah. But I thought I could just go to the local supermarket there and grab some liquid death. And two places didn't have it. They had the water, they had the sparkling, they didn't have the Rest in Peach or the iced tea that I wanted. So I did a DoorDash, but a pickup center. So I was dashing.
Okay.
And it was great. But I ordered it, off I went, and the whole gang tried it. They liked it. I really, really a lot of kudos for the peach. So that was my big thing. We had the backyard football game, of course. Okay. And as we always utilize our lives, focus groups of, like I have focus group of one all the time. But let me tell you now, the kids, and I'm air quoting kids, range from 24, there's like 24, 21, 16, 14, 20, the whole range. Eben, stereotype galore. Absolutely glued to their telephones.
Yeah.
Glued to their telephones. Football game is on, that's
what?
fine.
Do you know what? It was YouTube? Is it Snapchat? What is it?
Doing Snapchat, doing YouTube, doing fantasy, doing social, doing FanDuel, DraftKings, you name it, doing sports betting, doing all of it, but not paying attention to the TV all that much. If something big happened, okay. Occasionally head down, not conversing with each other. All the old folks in the room were like, get off the phones. It's like they don't even hear it. Just everything in the future should be geared towards mobile. That is where these kids are. Fish where the fish are. Figure out ways. Again, I've said get the credit card in the in-game app, the anything app. Get the credit card there and take money that way, even if it means there's a diminution in rights fees. I don't care. That is how you have to get the money these days.
Are they watching live games on their phones? Anyone watching
No.
the Amazon game or watching any of the Thursday football games? Or
No.
just shoulder programming, essentially?
No, shoulder programming, a lot of social. But no, nobody put on the Jets game, right? The Black Friday game on Amazon.
Yeah,
No, the
Jets,
TV,
Dolphins,
the TV was on in the background. That's fine. Some were sitting in front of it, but never really looking up at it. But it was all about shoulder programming and all about the device. I mean, it was really, it was like going to the zoo, because I can see my monkey, and it's just one monkey. So I can kind of observe this strange behavior and be like, all right, well, this is my one monkey behavior. Now I went to the monkey enclosure and all the monkeys were behaving the same way.
Yeah.
They were. So, this is clear for sports marketers in general. This is just absolute. I know we're not breaking some big news here, but just the
turns out mobile phones are popular.
No, but the length of time and the multiple things they were doing. It was, if you had taken the phones away, it would be like an appendage was taken.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out, like, if you threw like a twister mat in the middle of the room, would they do it, or would they just bitch and moan and say, "Give me my phone back"? They They did pause long enough to go outside and actually play the backyard football. So that was good. There
Okay.
was some fresh air, maybe 30 minutes tops. But I will tell you, as soon as they came in, there wasn't a single one of them that didn't absolutely just 200-meter dash for the phone to see what they had missed in the 30 minutes they were away. So take that for what you will. How about you?
Mine was good. Yeah, I was down in D.C. With my partner's family, her aunt and her brother. Spent a lot of time at Costco, which I told you. And to your point about how everything comes back to sports business, the Costco's down, and this may be true nationwide, but this is the first time I'd seen it. The Costco's
This is a bit of shock for you. This is like, this is dropping you in a Costco is a little bit shock
Yeah,
value.
it was a little overwhelming. We literally looked at every single product at Costco. Had some amazing deal. I love a deal. There's some amazing deals.
Do you
at
now
Costco.
own
not a
Kirkland?
sponsor.
Do you now own Kirkland pants and
I have so many
garbage bags?
cashews in my apartment now, Scott. It's like start a cashew farm. But one of the things that did interest me, the Costco's in Northern Virginia, or the one that we went to, sells Nationals and Capitals tickets.
Tickets, yeah.
Which I had not seen before. I was a little surprised by that, and I don't know if that happens through. Both those teams obviously have a primary ticketing partner. I don't know if it happens through them or if it's a separate thing that's a different independent third party that agrees to sell them in specific retail places. I should have looked more carefully to see if Ticketmaster was the branding on them or not. But they sell these cards that you buy to redeem for tickets in the future. I thought that was interesting and was a little surprising given the way that so much of the ticketing world is still kind of in this exclusive partnership zone. I was surprised to see a retailer like Costco being able to, albeit through a middleman of some sort, be able to do that.
I would pay money to have Josh Harris dressed up as a Christmas elf, standing in Costco and having to talk to fans of the Commanders coming by, thinking about buying tickets, about the team, about the past, about the future. I would pay money to watch that show.
For what it's worth, the Commanders were I did not see Commanders tickets. I also do not believe that I saw Wizards tickets either. But an undercover boss episode for selling tickets would be fascinating for sure.
All right. So what are we to make of this? Like the future of the Black Friday? I mean, obviously it's not going anywhere. Amazon, we've talked about this is just another vehicle by which. Yeah. They are going to get people. And something disturbed me. I saw a Bloomberg story that Black Friday sales were up 8% or something. That was, it was a really good Black Friday for retailers.
Yeah.
And did you see the line? Let me know if it struck you as it struck me, where it said a lot of it was done on buy now, pay later. Like have we
like a firm, like companies like that? Yeah.
Yeah, just have we learned nothing? Like this is why we need just basic finance in junior high school and then to high school. I mean, if you don't, there's also the Saturday Night Live skit a long time ago about, I think it was a long time ago, about if you don't have the money, you can't buy it. Like, and it's almost like they don't get it. What do you mean? Like, can't I just, no, if I don't have the money, should I just buy it now? No. I just stagger with the amount of credit card debt that we hear. And people now, I know it's the holidays, but a lot of the purchases were done buy now, pay later. That would scare the bejesus out of me. Like, folks, if you don't have the money, don't buy the item, whatever it is. Do not put it on the credit card. Can I explain to you what a 16, 18, 22% interest rate means? Can I explain to you how long it will take you to, and look at this, I feel like I'm flexing my Susie Orman here, how long it will take you to pay that credit card debt if you only pay the minimum? Can I please explain to you how this game works?
Forever.
Yeah. You will never. Remember those Wizards, or I'm sorry, let me be right. Those Capitals tickets you bought at Costco way back when? They are, half the players are retired. You're still paying those suckers off. That's how this game works. If I understand, like, if you don't, some people have to, I get it. I'm not tone deaf to what's going on in the world. But if you can avoid putting, I would say, unnecessary purchases on the credit card, try it. Try not to do that.
I don't disagree with you. This is an interesting tangent. How different do you think about this versus renting a car, right? Or buying a car in installments? Like, what is because there's some things in which big purchases that we are as a society very much accustomed to and used to, and probably financially does make sense to set up kind of monthly payments to pay down something like that.
Well, listen,
but I also agree that sports tickets and most of the things you're buying on Black Friday should not fall into that category.
Eben, it's math. Again, math isn't probably the strongest suit around here in the elementary schools and middle schools. Not for me either. You can't even do plus minus the time zone.
Yeah.
But, if your mortgage rate right now is at, let's say, you got it at the right time, 275, 285, 3. Yeah. Okay. But, you can get 5% on a 6-month, 12-month CD from even JP Morgan Chase or a Marcus by Goldman Sachs. 5% greater than 3%, right? So,
facts.
Facts. Can you just pay your car off? If you have the money, buy the car outright? Sure. But if they'll give you a car loan at 2% and you can earn 5% with the money, do the math. So, anyway, that's my Susie Orman right there.
There you go.
I'm not even going to get into annuities.
From Scott
I'm not even
Sashny.
getting into annuities and the need for a revocable trust. I'm not even going to get into it all. But we'll start with there. Don't put it on the credit card if you don't have to.
So grade the Minnesota Timberwolves purchase given this thinking. A multi-stage, pay it off over 5 years, 20% chunks at a time. Mark and A-Rod making that transaction. Smart transaction, bad transaction? What do you think?
Depends on what happens on the value of the Timberwolves. If
it's going up relative to the 1.5
it has gone up
in the original deal, yeah.
If the whispers are true, Mark and Alex have been out there looking for investors, and the number, Carlisle is among them on one now. We hear of one other that we're reporting out right now. Maybe we'll have that story out sometime soon. Yeah. But the number they were looking for in a short term, the appreciation that they were trying to attach to it, I hear fell on deaf ears, shall we say?
Yeah.
But overall, do we think the asset appreciation for a professional sports team is going to do pretty darn well? Yeah, we do. Which is why I don't think people who buy things like Matt Ishbia, he knows, he says I overpaid it. I don't care. It was my chance to get it, and I wanted it.
Yeah.
Talk to him 25 years from now. Do we think it'll be a bad decision? Regret it? No.
I think the A-Rod thing is actually quite interesting because, and we've talked about this on the show before, but they struck this deal a few years ago to buy the team from Glenn Taylor. The valuation in the deal, $1.5 billion with small escalators for the later purchases, but they got it below what I think anybody would say the Timberwolves are worth now. And from what we understand, they are out there looking to raise money, bring people in on the deal as they continue to pay it off. And they're doing so at a much higher valuation than what they're paying. And I know there are people that they've talked to that have bristled at that idea. I also understand that if you
say bristle, I say chuckle.
Both, sure. But I also understand where they're coming from, right? Where they got a good deal. They have a good contract that they were able to get that other people did not get. As a result, I see no problem with them trying to take money off the table or make money off the deal already, right, as they're trying to bring people in. So I see both sides of that, where some people may feel like, why am I joining your group if what you're paying is so much less than what I'm paying? But I also see that, yesterday's price is not today's price, and the Timberwolves are worth more now than they were back then when that deal was done.
Something I teach my focus group of one, very simple. My father taught me, and I'm sure you heard it from the Novi Williams side too. Don't ask, don't get.
There
right?
You go. Yep.
The worst somebody can do is say no. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Move on to something else. So,
did you guys watch any college football on the weekend, either on Friday or on Saturday?
Simple answer, no. Yeah. I did try and tune in on Twitter just to get a score of Michigan, Ohio State.
On Saturday.
And it was like a 2-score game in the fourth quarter, I believe. When I checked in, I said, okay, so Michigan's going to win. Apparently, it was a little more exciting at the end, where Ohio State had the ball and a chance to do something. But no, I just, you know my philosophy. I try not to sit and watch hours and hours and hours of sports.
Yeah.
I'd rather be out doing something else. That's not to say I don't love sports. I do. I did attend a live game. Thank you very much. So saw a little bit of the New Jersey Devils and Buffalo Sabres.
Okay.
Focus group of one was pumped to see Devin Levi play, only to show up and see the backup or the other guy was playing. I don't even know the guy's name.
Is that Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen?
I don't think so. It might be, but
I was about to wow you with my knowledge of
you would. By the way, you did
Sabres
wow
goalies.
me.
And,
you would.
maybe
I don't think it was
wrong.
him. No, it was somebody else who proceeded to give up 4 goals in the first period. By the way, as a goaltending parent, not the goalie's fault. This was pretty porous defense, but start of the second period. Guess what? Devin Levi.
Your guy comes in.
Yeah, he comes in. We love the, what's different about him in between when they're cleaning the ice and all that stuff. Devin sort of sits on the ice on his pads and he meditates. Here, this was my photo. I can do it like this. There's Devin Levi meditating. Jackson loved that.
Do you know there's a sports business reason why he does that? Do you know?
No, go.
So he, when he played in World Juniors, he was on a podcast recently. I was listening to this. When he played in World Juniors it was the first hockey game he'd ever played in where there were TV timeouts, and he didn't know what to do. He wasn't sure what goalies did for this 3-minute break, so he decided to just kind of sit there and try to kind of close his eyes and get in his own thoughts. And it's continued as he's gone up. He's played in a lot more games that have TV timeouts. But the origin of that whole thing was that he was playing in a game once, and then suddenly there was a break that he was not accustomed to and did not know what to do with, and ended up doing that. So that is a TV timeout origin thing for Devin Levi.
We get a good chuckle out of the focus group of one. He has a penchant for talking with referees. So
talking
he will
trash
skate out.
Or
No. Just talking.
Yeah,
no. We see that. We see the referee laughing. We see him. We're like, what are they possibly discussing? We had a game recently in the St. Louis tournament where they went to a shootout against the Reapers, Chicago Reapers. So goes to shootout, and my little knucklehead, he's at the center line talking with the referee, and our coach is like, look, I can see he's looking. I'm like, what is he doing? What is he what? And it turned out nobody knew he didn't know the rules. Every tournament you go to, it's different. Sometimes it's 3, it's best of 5, whatever. So they went through the initial lot. And so he was just getting an update on those. So he's like, what now? What do we do now? And it turned out it was sudden death, 1-1-1-1. But he just kept talking to the referee, and he doesn't mind. The need, funny for a focus group, he doesn't need all that much focus. I don't know, he doesn't do the
unfocused group of one.
Yeah, I think it's better for him to actually not sit there and focus. Just sort of, what is it, that Seinfeld where it's the key is to unfocus your eyes, not focus your eyes to see that's more him. I think he's better off if he's unfocused, if that makes sense.
There you go. Well, going back to college football, we are in the last year.
How many buyouts do we have now?
Well, let's do
that. What are we up to?
We're in the last year of the 4-team college football playoff, going to 12 teams next year. If you root for chaos, which is what I root for, and I think a lot of college fans
sports
do.
Business stories come out of chaos.
Yeah, we've got some fascinating stuff. Maybe college conference championships games are next week. If Alabama beats Georgia, you have to assume that no matter what, Georgia, Michigan are in. Alabama probably gets in. And then if Oregon beats Washington, the committee is going to have to choose between one loss Washington, undefeated Florida State, one loss Oregon State, one loss Oregon, one loss Ohio State, and one loss Texas as the final team to go in. Some really fascinating, and this is one of the reasons why they're expanding, is because it feels like very often you get down to this stage of the season, and there are a lot of talented teams that maybe you have one loss, or maybe you're undefeated in Florida State's case. And
they're expanding because somebody will pay them for an expanded round. That's why they're expanding.
Exactly. So a lot of money at stake here, a lot of money swirling around college football, obviously. But I will be eagerly awaiting the chaos scenario after the conference championship games on Friday and Saturday, Scott, just because I like to see college football fans up in arms.
What would create the most
enjoyable
chaos?
To me.
I think that's
the most chaos. It's this group of 5 or 6 one-loss teams, and suddenly there's just one space for them, and trying to figure out who gets it, I think.
So it sounds like you're telling me my alma mater, Syracuse, is not among the teams that's being considered for the
Syracuse would need a lot of help, I think.
But they are going to a bowl game, right?
Very dramatic things would need to happen. I have no idea.
I think all I know, and again, I get the emails, I get the updates, but I think I understand that Dino Babers lost his job,
Okay, head
the football
coach.
coach. So now that's a private institution. So we don't exactly know, like we have to see with the other disclosures. We don't have his contract and things like that. But I think I saw it was somewhere around, like 5 million, like 5+ million they still had to pay him.
Okay.
But overall, you were telling me that these buyouts may not be a bad thing for the universities.
Yeah.
Which it runs counter narrative. You would think if they're having to pay somebody, and we're doing this because Tom Allen, Indiana, just got one $15.5 million.
Who?
Yeah, it doesn't compare to Jimbo Fisher, Jimbo Jumbo, but what was that, 75, whatever it was, 73 million?
Yeah.
All right, but you're telling me that might not really be a bad thing for the universities, which I don't think people would expect to hear you say.
Yeah, I think a lot of people see these headlines and they assume that Indiana is paying Tom Allen $15 million to not coach. Okay, the university is dipping into some slush fund, maybe taking a position away from some other
firing
academic
professors.
firm. Yeah, I think that, and that may be true in some schools, but for most of these big SEC and Big Ten universities, that's not what's happening. Oftentimes, and Jimbo is maybe a perfect example of this. A $70+ million buyout is unheard of. It's 3 times bigger than anything we've ever seen before. It caught all these headlines, but there's a very good chance, I think, that donors came together and foot all of, if not a large portion of that bill, just like they may come together and foot all of or a large portion of the next coach's salary and maybe the next coach's buyout if we flash forward 3 or 4 years. The way a lot of coaching compensation works, both in hiring and in firing, is that donors make it worthwhile for the school to do it. And you and I had this conversation a few weeks ago about whether that's finite, whether a donor who's willing to pay $5 million to contribute to Jimbo's buyout is less willing to give his annual $1 million check, or less willing to give $5 million when they hire Mike Elko next week, whatever that looks like. Is that finite, or is there a fungible amount depending on the motivation for donors? I think it's the latter. I think there's a fungible amount. But yes, I think for a lot of people, they see the buyout number and assume that suddenly some portion of the university's budget is now going into paying this college football coach to walk away. And I think a lot of times it's actually a quite tidy transaction and an easy one that actually does not infringe the school at all.
I think the one that caught people's eyes is that the fact there's no offset, that Jimbo can go get another job and he continue to get the full salary. So
that's a bad contract, I think, right? I think that's bad. But again, the way a lot of schools think about the coaches, the contracts they give, and the way that they fire people is that they think about their reputation as a coach's school, as a place that's going to give a favorable contract, that's going to fire and for cause or not for cause, or versus for cause to pay the money out. There is a real feeling in college sports that the way that you treat your last coach really does impact who it is that you can hire next. So I think there's a piece of that happening here as well. But for a lot of these buyouts, I think the honest truth is that this is not a huge financial burden for a lot of these schools. In fact, you can maybe even assume that the decision gets made because it is paid for already, and not the opposite.
Will you permit me the opportunity to make a hedge fund corollary? Is that okay with you?
Oh, please.
Can I try this? All right. So hedge fund A, let's come up with a really fun hedge fund name. So we need a tree, a body of water, and then whatever. Oak River Partners. So Oak River Partners, we'll call it that, right? So they lose all the money in 2 years. Terrible returns, right? Okay, so Oak River Partners closes down. Now, the managing partner of Oak River Partners, he has a few vests in his closet, and he still wants to work for a while. So he decides to open up a new hedge fund. So he's got to do it under another name, like opens up another. So now you've got Spruce Ocean LP, okay? Are you, as an investor in Oak River, now giving the same person the money at Spruce Ocean? So if I'm a booster, do I not look at the person who did the hiring and is getting this wrong and had to fire the coach? I'm saying if you drove it in the ditch, you can't drive it out. Like, are these questions you're asking as a booster? That why am I entrusting you? Like, why do you have a job? Like, you're the guy who screwed this up.
I think there's that is a totally reasonable thing to think about. I think the truth is that there's different levers to success, right? That Jimbo Fisher, I'm sure, is a very good coach. He is a very good recruiter. That is definitively true. And he will get another opportunity if he wants one in college football very soon. right? This is, in some ways, it is, you can fail up, but you also, once you hit a certain point, you are able to stay there very often for a very long time. But I think the truth is that there's so much variability in specific job placements and in success, win-loss success at the top tier of college football that, yeah, I think once you reach a point where it's clear that you can bring in number one recruits, which Jimbo, 5-star recruits, which he proved that he can, someone else is going to pay him a lot of money with probably a very big buyout attached to it to coach there again. That's my feeling.
I tell him, no way. You already have your buyout. You're getting paid with this job. Forget it. I'll sign you to another one. You can get another chance, but no way. This has to be a school favorable contract. That's what I'm saying.
To use your metaphor for a second, if
come
the
up
guy,
with your own name, Mike. Come up with a good name. What do you got? Give me one.
Give me
one.
Bonsai Creek partners into the ground. If he has
too much work, too much work at Bonsai Creek. Too much stuff to do.
Bonsai Creek, tough place to work. If he has a whole crew of people, a very smart staff that come with him, yeah, I think there's a chance that you would believe that person in charge of a new fund in slightly different circumstances or with a new fresh start can suddenly run a really successful hedge fund. Yeah, I think there's a chance. I mean, we see this in hedge funds too, right? There's people who run hedge funds into the ground that do get to run, that are able to raise money. People that run companies into the ground are able to raise money sometimes very easily for their next venture. I think college football is also very similar. I think there is a vetting by association and a vetting by capital to a degree. And once you hit a certain point, yeah, you are able to have multiple bites at that apple before the entire establishment decides that, oh, this guy is no longer capable or qualified or worth the amount of money that we're throwing at him.
You have to say it slowly, but I would give my money to Redwood River Brothers.
Oh, right? Okay. RWRB?
You can't, but you can't go Redwood. You have to Redwood. Have to be very, very patient. Redwood River Brothers. That's what I would give.
I'm here for Bonsai Creek Capital personally.
I enjoy it. By the way, I did that. Yeah. No, that was really good. All right. Lastly, close it out with the New York Mets now have a president of business operations, and I find this super interesting. Enough to include it here that Scott Havens, CEO of Bloomberg Media, left to join the Mets. Has no professional sports in his background at all, but he is a media executive turning sort of content into IP. I have to believe he's reporting right to Steve Cohen, so you have to believe that Steve wanted a particular executive for where he's taking the franchise. So do we expect the New York Mets to become sort of a top flight media brand and content farm? That's what I see.
I'm sure that's a piece of it. Yeah, but Scott was a colleague of ours at Bloomberg. Scott, I don't remember working with him. Maybe we did at some point.
I think you got him some food once from the
exactly. Beef jerky was out on the pantry level. I do think there's certainly a way to look at this as a man with a specific skill set in a specific industry that is critically important to sports teams. And as we talk about on the show a lot, the way that sports teams, baseball teams make money off media is changing drastically. And the local TV cable model, which the Mets are in a good position with SNY, right? They are not one of these teams that is probably going to lose tens of millions a year.
Wait, you say the Mets are in a good position. Am I separating the Mets from Steve Cohen? Because Steve Cohen does not own SNY.
Does not own, yes. I think that there's obviously a lot of partnership between the Mets and SNY. Hold
on, I'm putting on my Kreskin hat. This is my Kreskin again.
Do you ever notice all the media Steve people will own the SNY at some point?
Wait a minute, it's my Kreskin, not yours. Yes, this is what I'm Kreskining. That will have Steve Cohen's ownership of. Yeah, okay, you said it. That's what I see coming.
To bring the whole conversation full circle, right? All of your younger family members were on their phones doing sports related stuff at Thanksgiving, but not watching games. Right. And that's the thing that I imagine Steve Cohen hires Scott Havens to think about, right? It's kids love media. Kids are on their phones all the time. They're on social media. They're on various X and Y. They're not watching my games, but how do I get the Mets to be a part of whatever it is they're doing? And whether it's watching YouTube shorts or whether it's adding the Mets logo to Snapchat.
They did put very Instagram-friendly placements around Citi Field. That was like step way back. I mean, but I thought it was smart.
It's all those things exactly.
Yeah.
It's if people are not going to watch games in the way that they did when I was a kid and I was growing up as a Mets fan in the New York area, I watched a lot of baseball games. If that piece of fandom is getting smaller and smaller for kids who are 20 years younger than me, yeah, what do you replace it with? And this is a challenge, Scott. You know this better than almost anybody. This is a challenge everyone in media is facing too, right? The idea of people sitting there and reading the newspaper is gone. Attention spans are smaller. People are consuming news in various different ways, and I think someone who has a finger on the pulse of how to deliver news media to younger people probably has a good finger on the pulse of how to deliver sports content to younger people as well.
I only know how to deliver sports business news. That's what I know. So we know people want that. There's an appetite for quality sports business journalism, and hell, we got it for you right here.
We do at Sportico.com and at the Sporticast, which you can catch on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Well done.
He is Scott Soshnick on Twitter at Soshnick. I am Eben
You
Novi
know my
Williams
cues.
on Twitter at Novi_Williams. The show is
Who's
produced
the
by Aaron
underscore?
Greenewald. Thank you very much to Aaron. Sportico's digital media editor, Cora Veltman, would like you to know that you can download the show at Sporticast,
Getting so
which
good
is
at
the
this.
hub
Look
of
at
the
you.
Sportico
Look at you.
Media Network.